Yo, what is going on, guys? Flashverse here, and welcome back to another video on The Flash, as well as Crisis on Infinite Earths. And today's video is going to be me explaining why Reverse Flash wasn't in Crisis on Infinite Earths, although he was confirmed to, but we've never seen him, as well as breaking down other things, such as Mark Guggenheim explaining how Ezra Miller's Flash was able to end up in the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover, which made everyone shocked, and it literally blew up all over the internet. Now, in this video, I will be going over this interview from Mark Guggenheim, as I said, which reveals things that he was planning for this Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover. But before I do that, you guys don't forget to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so you are aware of more Arrowverse content coming your way. Okay, so first off, I'm going to start off with why Reverse Flash wasn't in the crossover. So we know that since the very beginning of the Flash TV show, Season 1, Episode 1, we've seen through the newspaper article that we would have had a Flash versus Reverse Flash in Crisis on Infinite Earths. And in The Flash, Season 5, Episode 23, it was even said by Eobard Thawne, "See you in our next crisis." But the Reverse Flash doesn't appear at all. So the main reason why they didn't include Thawne in Crisis was because that they didn't want to set up too much of the Flash and Reverse Flash story arc, and resulting it to prevent things what other shows would have set up, what they wanted to do, and they wanted to do the Flash versus Reverse Flash regardless on what other shows it would have done. But with most of the shows being heavily Crisis focused, such as Arrow, it would have been very hard to do. The original Crisis was supposed to include Reverse Flash and the Flash time traveling to the year 2000, and the Reverse Flash murders the Flash's mother and causes the whole traumatic events to occur, and then the particle accelerator in 2014, blah blah blah. You guys already know the story. Now, Crisis on Infinite Earths storyline doesn't really have enough space within the episodes to fit in a Reverse Flash versus the Flash storyline, while trying to focus on other things as well, since the crossover isn't meant to be heavily Flash related. It's meant to be Infinite Earths, just Arrowverse basically overall, and focused on multiple characters. So it would have been pretty awkward if they made a main villain of one TV show playing a very significant role in a crossover that's supposed to include most of the Arrowverse heroes. But if this never happened, how did we see Reverse Flash in the trailers? Well, we saw Reverse Flash running through something, I'm guessing the Speed Force, and it looked like he would have had a small role for Crisis due to that clip. But for such an important character, it would have really sucked if they just had him running across the Speed Force and that's it for him. So this scene ended up becoming a deleted scene. Now, I will go over this article by Variety, which does include this interview from Mark Guggenheim and what he had to say about specific parts in Crisis, especially the Ezra Miller Flash cameo. Now, this was actually filmed post-production, so this scene clearly replaces a specific speedster related thing. So pretty much Ezra Miller's cameo was supposed to replace the Reverse Flash's 1 minute slot basically. So they pretty much did it for the better, if I'm being honest. So anyways, the question is as follows. There has been a fairly strict separation from the DC film and television world. How are you able to combine the two with Miller's cameo? And Guggenheim says, "We were series wrapped on Arrow, and we were wrapped on the whole crossover. We were in post, and some episodes were locked, and some were soft locked. I got a phone call from Warner Brothers' boss, Peter Roth, saying, 'I know you're locked, but can you put Ezra into the crossover?' And I said yes. And he said, 'How? Your series wrapped, and you're wrapped on the crossover.' And I said, 'Yeah, I know, but if you're telling me Ezra Miller can be in the crossover, I can make it happen.' I called Eric Wallace, who is the showrunner of The Flash, and he called up Grant Gustin because the one thing that was our only concern was the thought we didn't want to do it unless Grant was 100% certain on board with it. And he was. He was incredibly enthusiastic and on board with it. And then we got on the phone with Ezra Miller and told him the scene I had written, and he was completely into it. And we just went. We put together a unit of the Flash crew, and on the Flash set, since Arrow's team, which had produced the rest of the hour, was gone, and much of our surprise, no one noticed Ezra Miller was in Vancouver, and no one leaked it from the clue, which we appreciate. So we were able to keep it a surprise. So they did really do a great job in keeping this a surprise. Like literally no cast member besides Grant Gustin knew about this, which shows how secretive this is. Like even like the main Arrowverse heroes knew nothing about this. So the next question is, combing the multiverse made it so there was only one version of each hero left. Does that mean Miller's Flash is no longer exists in the DC television world? And Guggenheim says, I will leave that question to Warner Brothers and DC. They have a wonderful vision for not just Ezra's Flash, but also the entire DC universe. Jim Lee is the man to talk to. And then the next question is related to Oliver. Oliver ended up dying twice over the course of the crossover. What led to the decision to pull that figurative trigger twice? And Guggenheim says, the creative behind it was we were faced with the question of how do we surprise the audience when we spoiled the story a year ago. The creative conversations were pretty simple. I shared that plan with the executive producer Greg Berlanti, who was into it, and I pitched it to Steven, and Steven and I have been talking about it for years, that the end of Arrow story is Oliver's death. And we've always been on the same page. I think he enjoyed A, the opportunity to play two death scenes, and B, the creative sleight of hand in terms of surprising the audience. That's the other thing that Steven and I have always agreed on. Surprising the audience with the unexpected. So it just made sense. The only lingering question was if we kill off Oliver in Arrow, Season 8, Episode 8, what's the series finale? And we had a plan for that as well. So this is the thing I was worried about the most. Like they've killed off Oliver now, so I have no idea how the series finale will play up. Maybe they will bring like Oliver in like a flashback or something, because I have no idea how he will come back after what happened. But yeah, going to the next question. The introduction of Earth Prime has led to new changes like Baby Sarah's return, Lex Luthor a hero, etc. How will the shows be handling the reveal of the difference going forward? And for a character like Laurel Katie Cassidy, who's played by Katie Cassidy, whose Earth 1 Laurel was killed and has been playing Earth 2 over the past few years, which version is left? Certainly the question of which Laurel is left is going to be answered very definitively in Arrow's Season 8 Episode 9, which is the backdoor pilot. But the explanation for the result is giving very strong in Episode 10. We went into the crossover knowing we would end with the combing of the Earth and the reboot of the universe. And the way we sort of saw that there is an opportunity going forward after Crisis to slowly reveal all of the weird changes. Arrow, showrunner Beth Schwartz, and I went into the crossover knowing in the final episode that we wanted to reveal that Baby Sarah, who was eliminated in Flashpoint, was returning to the timeline. That was very important to us. We had actually considered doing it after Elseworlds last year, actually, but thought it had more punch if it was a part of the universal reboot of Crisis on Infinite Earths. So then the next question is, Lex seems to be a wild card, and now he has history with characters from all of the Arrowverse shows. What's next for him? That's really a question for the Supergirl showrunners. I went to them, I said we're going to do a reboot. We're going to combine the universes. Anything you want to introduce to your shows, now is really good time. And this was something that Supergirl showrunners Robert Rovner and Jessica Queller came back with. We were all really excited about it. So I was very excited to see what they would have done with Lex Luthor, because now he is the boss of the DEO, which makes things a lot more interesting. John Cryer's Lex Luthor is the best character in Supergirl, so he will definitely carry the show for those few episodes. And as I said, he's the boss of Supergirl, so I cannot wait to see like how he bugs her around and stuff like that. Okay, so anyways, the next question is, the Arrowverse characters have long been interconnected, but now they're all residing on the same Earth. How does that change the stakes for things going forward when the shows have to remain quasi-separate? I think the Marvel film universe deals with it every time, too. Like in Iron Man 3, why doesn't Tony Stark call upon the Avengers? We've had the issue ever since we've introduced the Flash into the Arrowverse. Why doesn't Oliver call upon his superpowered friends? The way we tend to solve that problem historically. And I don't think this will change post-crisis. It's appropriate story-wise and doesn't feel like a departure we'll mention. Why don't you call another hero and give an explanation? So this is another thing that I was worried about the like Supergirl ending up in the same universe as the other shows now. In Earth Prime, we know that Central City and National City are literally like right next to each other. So why is it that when the Flash needs help, why can't Supergirl just like fly in there and stuff? So like this is a huge problem, and I am very interested to see how they will deal with this. And then the last question. The very end of the crossover hinted at the introduction of Gleek and the Wonder Twins. Is that something that the fans can look forward on? Legends of Tomorrow, the next crossover, or sometime to be disclosed? And Guggenheim says, to be disclosed. That was something where we knew we wanted to end with that fun bit. There were early versions of the draft that had the Wonder Twins actually in it. I consider the Wonder Twins kind of a jump ball. We'll see if the show wants to grab it. Now, that I found this like ending ridiculous, to be honest, like having Gleek in like make it like a cliffhanger or something. But like to be honest, like due to the way that Legends do their shows, like with like Bebo and stuff, with like comedy, I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if they do introduce Gleek some point in Legends. But like I'm not very familiar with the character, but I know he's like a monkey or something. So like who better to do it than Legends? So I guess we may see him in Legends. I'm not really sure. Maybe season 6 or something. But yeah, that is pretty much it for the video, guys. So if you guys have enjoyed the video, please give a like and subscribe. Tell me in the comment section down below what you think of all of this, and I will see you guys in my next video.